You make $5,000 and you're poor. The trap of appearance. You wake up, your brand new iPhone buzzes on the nightstand. You reach for it with that momentary rush of satisfaction because damn, it's beautiful. The screen lights up with notifications you don't really need to see, but you look anyway, because that's what you do now. You swing your legs out of bed, and your feet touch carpet that's still being paid off in 12 installments. Through the window, you can see your SUV parked outside, financed, obviously, 72 months. You don't even remember what the interest rate is anymore. You just know the payment is due on the 15th, and you've never missed one. Not once. You shower, you dress in clothes that cost more than you want to admit, and you head out the door feeling like you've made it. Like you're doing well, like you're winning at this thing called life. But here's what nobody tells you, what nobody wants to admit at dinner parties or family gatherings or during those casual conversations at work where everyone pretends everything is fine. You're not winning, you're drowning. And the worst part, you're drowning in shallow water, in a pool you built yourself, one expensive purchase at a time. You make $5,000 a month, and you are poor. Not struggling, not barely making it, not living paycheck to paycheck in some noble, sympathetic way. You are functionally poor while looking phenomenally rich, and that contradiction is eating you alive from the inside out, without you even noticing it's happening. This isn't about judging you, this is about waking you up. Because somewhere between wanting to impress people you don't even like and trying to prove to yourself that you're successful, you've become a prisoner in a cell you designed with your own credit cards. And the bars? They're made of leather seats, brand name logos, and the suffocating need to maintain an image that costs everything you earn and more. Let me show you how this works. Let me walk you through the psychology of modern poverty disguised as middle-class comfort. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And maybe, just maybe, that'll be the beginning of your escape. But I need you to stay with me here, because this is going to hurt. Truth usually does. And if you're already feeling defensive, already forming arguments in your head about why your situation is different, why your purchases are justified, why you deserve these things after working so hard, then you're exactly who needs to hear this most. So do me a favor before we go any deeper. If you're ready to have your financial worldview challenged, if you're willing to look at yourself honestly for the next few minutes, hit that like button. And subscribe because we're going to dismantle a lot of comfortable lies on this channel, and you'll want to be here for all of it. Let's start with a question. When was the last time you had $500 sitting in your account that wasn't already spoken for? Not money you were planning to spend. Not money that had a job next week. Just money that existed as a buffer, as breathing room, as the thing that separates security from panic. For most people earning what you earn, the answer is never, or so long ago they can't remember. And that should terrify you, but it doesn't. Not really, because you've learned to live in a permanent state of controlled crisis, where you're always one unexpected expense away from chaos. But you've convinced yourself that's just how adult life works now. It's not. Your parents might have lived like this, your grandparents definitely didn't. But you've taken it to an entirely new level because you've added something they never had to deal with. The performance, the constant, exhausting performance of success. See, being poor used to look like being poor. Cheap clothes, old car, small apartment. There was no confusion about your financial state because it was visible. But modern middle-class poverty is invisible. It hides behind designer sunglasses and Instagram posts and that renovated kitchen you can't actually afford to cook in because you're too busy working to pay for it. You've created a lifestyle that requires every single dollar you make plus a little bit more. And that little bit more is where the trap is. That's the gap between your income and your image. That's the space where credit cards live and compound interest breeds, and financial anxiety becomes your constant companion even though you're supposedly doing fine. You're making good money. You have a good job. You live in a good neighborhood. You drive a good car. Everything is good. Except it's not, because good isn't measured by what you own. It's measured by what you owe. And you owe everything. The psychology here is fascinating and devastating in equal measure. You've been taught your entire life that success has a look, that achievement comes with specific material markers, the right car, the right phone, the right brands, the right image. And you've internalized that so deeply that you can't separate your self-worth from your purchasing power anymore. Your value as a human being has become confused with your ability to signal status. And status costs money, always more money than you have. So you finance it. You spread it out. You convince yourself that small monthly payments don't really count because they're manageable. $70 here for the phone, $500 there for the car, $80 for the couch, $50 for the watch. They add up so gradually you don't notice you're being buried alive. Each individual payment seems reasonable. But together they form a financial straitjacket that restricts every choice you make. You can't change jobs because you need the steady income. You can't take risks because you can't afford a single month of reduced pay. You can't save because there's nothing left to save. You can't invest because you're too busy servicing debt to build wealth. You are stuck, completely, thoroughly stuck. And the cruelest part is that you worked so hard to get here. This isn't laziness. This isn't irresponsibility in the traditional sense. You show up. You do your job. You make decent money. You're doing everything you were told would lead to security, except nobody mentioned that security and the appearance of success are completely different things. Nobody warned you that you could have all the symbols of making it while being financially more fragile than someone making half your income who lives within their means. Think about that person for a second. Your colleague who makes $3,000 a month. They drive an older car. They have last year's phone. Their apartment is smaller. Their clothes are fine but not impressive. And you pity them a little bit, don't you? You think they're struggling. You think they haven't figured it out yet. But plot twist. They have $20,000 in savings. They could lose their job tomorrow and be fine for 8 months. They sleep well at night. They don't have nightmares about credit card bills. They can say no to things because they're not desperately clinging to an image. They are richer than you, not in income, in actual, functional, sleep-at-night wealth, and that should make you angry, not at them, at yourself, at the system that convinced you this was the path, at every advertisement and movie and social media post that told you happiness looks like luxury. Because you bought it, literally. You purchased the whole story with money you didn't have, and now you're living in the prison that story built. But here's where it gets really dark. You know this already. Somewhere deep down, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've felt it. That sick feeling when another payment comes due. That moment of panic when you check your account balance. That tight sensation in your chest when someone suggests dinner at an expensive restaurant, and you have to calculate whether you can afford it while pretending you're just checking your schedule. You know you're not okay. But you can't admit it. Not to your friends, not to your family, not even fully to yourself, because admitting it would mean confronting the choices you've made. It would mean acknowledging that the lifestyle you've built is a facade. It would mean stopping, changing, downsizing. And that feels like failure. That feels like admitting defeat. That feels like telling everyone you weren't as successful as you pretended to be. So you keep going, you keep spending, you keep financing, you keep performing. And every month the trap gets a little tighter. The room to breathe gets a little smaller. The options narrow. The exit gets further away. This is what modern poverty looks like. Not hunger, not homelessness, but being trapped in a life you can't afford to maintain and can't afford to escape. The average person in your income bracket has less than $1,000 in savings. The average person carries credit card debt. The average person is 2 missed paychecks away from serious financial trouble. But none of them look like they're struggling because they've all bought the same lie you did. That looking successful is the same as being successful. That signaling status is worth any price. That image is everything. And the economy loves you for it. Every company, every advertiser, every financial institution has figured out exactly how to exploit this psychological vulnerability. They know you'll pay more than you can afford to feel like you're winning. They know you'll finance your self-esteem. They know you've confused temporary pleasure with lasting happiness, and they are bleeding you dry because of it. Your car payment isn't about transportation, it's about identity. Your phone isn't about communication, it's about belonging. Your clothes aren't about covering your body, they're about covering your insecurities. Everything you own is actually rented validation from a society that profits from your anxiety about not being enough. And the worst part, it works. For a while. You do feel better when you buy something new. You do feel accomplished when someone compliments your car. You do feel successful when you're wearing the right brands. The dopamine hit is real. The social approval is real. The moment of feeling like you've made it is absolutely real. But it doesn't last. It can't last. Because you haven't actually solved anything. You've just covered it up with another purchase that needs to be paid for. The feeling fades. The approval moves on to the next person with the next thing. And you're left with the bill. Always the bill. This cycle has a name. It's called the hedonic treadmill. And you're running on it at full speed while going absolutely nowhere. You need nicer things to feel the same level of satisfaction you used to get from simpler things. You need more to feel like enough. The baseline keeps rising, the goalpost keeps moving, and you keep chasing it with money you don't have, trying to catch a feeling that isn't for sale no matter how much you spend. Now let me ask you something uncomfortable. Who are you actually buying this stuff for, really? Be honest. Are you buying it for yourself? Or are you buying it for the version of yourself you think other people want to see? Are you buying it because it makes you happy? Or because you think it makes you look happy? Are you buying it because you need it? Or because you need other people to see you having it? Most people have never asked themselves these questions. They just buy, they consume, they perform, they follow the script that says more is better, and expensive is impressive, and luxury is success. But you're not most people, not anymore. Not after this. So ask yourself, when you bought that car, was it because you needed reliable transportation? Or because you needed a specific type of transportation that broadcast a specific message about who you are? When you upgraded your phone, was it because the old one stopped working? Or because having last year's model felt like a statement about your place in the world? When you bought those clothes, that furniture, that watch, were you purchasing objects? Or were you purchasing other people's perceptions of you? This is the heart of it. You're not paying for things, you're paying for status. And status is the most expensive thing in the world because it has no finish line. There's always someone with more. There's always something newer. There's always a higher tier. You cannot win this game. It's designed to be unwinnable. The only way to stop losing is to stop playing. But stopping feels impossible because you've built your entire identity around playing. Your sense of self-worth is tangled up in your possessions. Your confidence is tied to your purchasing power. Your happiness depends on maintaining an image that requires constant financial sacrifice. You've made your external life so impressive that your internal life is collapsing. Your bank account is empty, but your closet is full. Your future is uncertain, but your present looks amazing. Your stress is maxed out, but your Instagram is perfect. This is the modern paradox. You're sacrificing actual security for perceived success. And the truly insane part is that nobody is fooled except you. Everyone else doing the same thing knows everyone else is also doing the same thing. You all know you're all pretending. You're performing for an audience that's also performing. It's a theater where everyone is both actor and spectator, everyone playing a role they can't afford, everyone pretending to believe everyone else's performance while secretly knowing their own is fake. It's collective delusion funded by credit and maintained by fear. Fear of being exposed, fear of falling behind, fear of being seen as less than. And that fear is more powerful than logic, more powerful than math. More powerful than your actual financial reality, because at least when you're afraid and broke but look successful, you fit in, you belong, you're part of the club. But if you stopped, if you actually lived within your means, if you drove a modest car and had an older phone and wore normal clothes, you'd be different, you'd stand out, you'd be questioned. People would wonder what happened to you, whether you failed, whether you're okay, whether you lost your job or your mind or your ambition, and you cannot handle that judgment. Even imagining it makes you anxious. So you stay trapped, you keep spending, you keep financing, you keep pretending. Because the social cost of escape feels higher than the financial cost of staying. But here's what you're not calculating. The financial cost of staying isn't just money, it's time, it's freedom, it's possibilities, it's your future. Every month you spend everything you make plus a little more. You're not just breaking even. You're moving backwards. You're borrowing from your future self to pay for your current self's insecurities. You're trading years of your life for months of appearances. The car you're financing for 6 years will be worth nothing by the time you pay it off. The phone you're paying for in installments will be obsolete in 2 years. The clothes will go out of style. The furniture will wear out. But the debt persists, the interest compounds, the payments continue. You're paying tomorrow's money for yesterday's dopamine, and tomorrow keeps coming. Tomorrow becomes today, And today you're still paying for things you barely remember buying, things that gave you a brief moment of satisfaction that's long gone, but the bill remains. This is the trap. Not that you're spending money, but that you're spending future freedom for present image. You're mortgaging your possibilities to maintain a facade. And every year you do this, the hole gets deeper. The climb gets steeper. The escape gets harder. You're 28 and you think you have time. You're 35 and you're starting to worry. You're 42 and you're panicking. You're 50 and you realize you have nothing. No savings, no investments, no security. Just a storage unit full of stuff you financed that nobody wants to buy, and a credit report that tells the story of a life spent trying to look successful instead of being successful. And the cruelest irony? By the time you figure this out, you've spent the best years of your life in a prison you built with your own hands. The years when you had energy and health and time and options, you spent them trapped in a cycle of earning and spending and performing that gave you nothing lasting, nothing real, nothing that mattered. But it doesn't have to be this way. That's what I need you to understand. This isn't permanent. This isn't inevitable. This isn't your destiny. This is a choice you've been making every day. And you can start making a different choice right now. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Not after you pay off this one thing right now. Today. This moment. But first you have to admit where you are. You have to look at your bank account, your credit card statements, your loans, your payments, all of it, and you have to be honest about what you see. You have to stop telling yourself stories about why it's okay, why it's temporary, why it's justified, why you deserve it, why it's not that bad. You have to face the reality that you are broke, you are poor, you are financially vulnerable. And the things you own don't change that. They're not assets, they're liabilities. They're not wealth, they're debt. They're not security, they're chains. And until you admit that, until you really feel that truth in your gut where it hurts, you won't change. You'll keep doing what you're doing. You'll keep getting what you're getting. You'll keep being trapped while pretending you're free. So here's the real question, the one that matters. The one that'll determine everything about your future. Are you ready to stop performing? Are you willing to look unsuccessful to actually become successful? Are you brave enough to drive a worse car, have an older phone, wear cheaper clothes, live in a smaller place, and let people judge you while you build actual wealth instead of the appearance of wealth? Because that's what it takes. That's the price of escape. Not money. You don't need more money. You need less need for other people's approval. You need less attachment to your image. You need less fear of being ordinary. Most people aren't willing to pay that price. They'd rather be broke and impressive than stable and modest. They'd rather have the car than the savings, the phone than the peace of mind, the image than the freedom. They'd rather drown in shallow water where everyone can see them than swim to safety in the deep where nobody's watching. And that's their choice. But it doesn't have to be yours. Let me tell you what freedom actually looks like. It's not impressive. It's not Instagram-worthy. It won't make anyone jealous. Freedom looks like having 6 months of expenses in the bank and sleeping through the night without anxiety. Freedom looks like being able to say no to social obligations that cost money without feeling ashamed. Freedom looks like choosing your job based on satisfaction instead of salary because you don't need every dollar to maintain your lifestyle. Freedom looks like driving a paid-off car that's reliable but not remarkable. Freedom looks like not caring what phone you have because you know it doesn't define you. Freedom looks like confidence that comes from actual security instead of perceived status. And here's the thing, nobody talks about this kind of freedom. Nobody posts about it. Nobody celebrates it. Because it's boring, because it's invisible, because it doesn't signal anything except that you've figured out something most people never will. That real wealth isn't what you show. It's what you keep. It's what you save. It's what you don't spend. It's the space between your income and your expenses. That gap is where actual financial security lives. That gap is where possibilities exist. That gap is where your future gets built. But you don't have a gap. You have the opposite of a gap. You have negative space. You have a deficit. You have more going out than coming in when you include all those finance purchases you don't think of as real expenses because they're spread out over time. But they're real. They're eating you alive, and until you create actual space between what you make and what you spend, you will never be anything other than financially fragile no matter how much you earn. You could double your income tomorrow and you'd still be in the same position a year from now because you'd just upgrade your lifestyle to match. Bigger apartment, newer car, more expensive everything. The trap would just get more expensive. The prison would just get prettier. But you'd still be trapped. This is what they don't teach you. That income doesn't create wealth. The gap between income and lifestyle creates wealth. And you can create that gap two ways: make more money or need less stuff. Most people only focus on the first one. They chase raises and promotions and side hustles thinking more income will solve everything. But it won't. Not if you keep spending it all, not if you keep financing your image, not if you keep prioritizing appearances over actual security. The second path is harder psychologically but easier practically. You just stop. You stop trying to impress people. You stop equating your worth with your possessions. You stop performing success and start building it. You drive your current car until it literally dies. You keep your current phone until it stops working. You wear your clothes until they wear out. You live in your current place, even though you could theoretically afford better. And you take every dollar that would have gone to upgrading, to impressing, to performing, and you save it, invest it, build a foundation with it, create actual security instead of the appearance of success. You do this for a year, and you'll have more savings than you've ever had. You do it for 3 years, and you'll have stability you didn't think was possible. You do it for 5 years, and you'll be wealthier than people making twice what you make who are still trapped in the performance. But you won't look like it. That's the price. You won't look successful by the metrics everyone around you is using. You'll look ordinary, maybe even unsuccessful by comparison. And you have to be okay with that. You have to find your validation somewhere other than other people's perception of your material status. This is where most people fail. Not because they can't do it financially, but because they can't handle it psychologically. They can't tolerate being seen as less than. They can't handle the questions. They can't deal with the judgment. They care too much about what other people think. And as long as you care more about other people's opinions than your own financial security, you will stay trapped. Period. No amount of income will save you. No amount of discipline will matter. Because you'll always find a way to spend just enough to maintain the image, even if it destroys your future. So you have to decide, right now. What matters more, looking successful or being successful? Impressing people or building security? The performance or the reality? Because you can't have both. Not with your current income. Maybe not with any income. The two paths diverge. You have to choose. And whichever one you choose will determine the next 10 years of your life. Choose the performance and you'll spend the next decade exactly where you are now. Same financial stress, same lack of savings, same vulnerability, just older, more tired, more aware that time is running out and you've built nothing real. Choose reality, and the next decade looks completely different. Hard at first, uncomfortable, maybe even embarrassing as you downgrade and simplify and let go of things you thought defined you. But progressively easier, progressively more secure, progressively more free, until one day you wake up and realize you're not afraid anymore. You're not anxious about money. You're not performing for anyone. You're just living, actually living, on your own terms with resources and options and real stability that isn't an illusion. And here's the beautiful part. Once you get there, once you build actual wealth instead of the appearance of it, you could afford all those things you gave up. The nice car, the new phone, the expensive stuff. You could afford it easily without financing, without stress, without sacrificing your security. But by then you won't want it anymore. Because you'll have discovered something more valuable than any possession. You'll have discovered peace. Real peace. The kind that comes from knowing you're okay no matter what happens. The kind that comes from having options. The kind that comes from not owing anyone anything. The kind that comes from building your life on substance instead of image. And the really interesting thing, people will start treating you differently, not because you look more successful, but because you are more successful. There's a confidence that comes with actual security that no amount of financed luxury can replicate. A calm, a groundedness, an authenticity. People sense it even if they don't understand it. You stop being desperate for approval because you don't need external validation anymore. You've validated yourself through your choices and your discipline, and your willingness to prioritize reality over performance. And that's attractive in a way material possessions never are. That's the kind of success people actually respect once they mature enough to recognize it. But you can't fake it. You can't perform authenticity. You can't purchase peace. You can only build it. One choice at a time, 1 month at a time, 1 year at a time. By consistently choosing substance over image, reality over performance, future security over present appearances. It's not complicated. It's just hard. Hard because it requires you to go against everything society tells you. Hard because it means being different. Hard because it means admitting you were wrong about what matters. But here's what I know. You're already tired. You're tired of pretending, tired of performing, tired of the anxiety, tired of having nothing left at the end of the month, tired of being one emergency away from disaster, tired of knowing deep down that you're not okay, even though you look okay. That exhaustion you feel isn't from working too hard. It's from living a lie. It's from maintaining a facade. It's from trying to be something you're not with resources you don't have. And that kind of tired doesn't go away with rest. It goes away with truth, with alignment, with making your external life match your internal reality instead of constantly trying to force them apart. So maybe it's time to stop. Just stop. Stop the performance. Stop the pretending. Stop the financing. Stop the desperate scramble to look successful while feeling like a failure. Stop caring so much about what people think. Stop equating your worth with your possessions. Stop believing the lie that happiness can be purchased and status is success and image is everything. Just stop. And in that stopping, in that moment of honest stillness, decide what you actually want. Not what you're supposed to want, not what looks good, not what others expect. What you actually want for your life. Real security or perceived status, actual freedom or impressive possessions, peace of mind or other people's approval? Because I'll tell you right now what you'll discover if you're honest with yourself. You don't actually want the stuff. You want what you think the stuff represents. Security, success, worth, belonging, respect. But the stuff doesn't give you any of those things. It just gives you debt. The security is an illusion. The success is a performance. The worth is external and temporary. The belonging is conditional and shallow. The respect is from people who don't matter and won't be there when things get hard. Everything you're chasing through consumption is available through different means. Better means, cheaper means, more sustainable means. You can have security through savings, success through accomplishment, worth through character, belonging through authentic relationships, respect through integrity. But you can't have any of those things while you're trapped in the cycle of earning and spending and performing. Because that cycle takes all your energy, all your resources, all your attention. It leaves nothing for building anything real. So you have to break it. And breaking it starts with one simple decision. The decision to stop lying to yourself about where you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it. Look at your bank account right now. Seriously, pull out your phone and look at it. Look at what's there. Look at what's not there. Look at your credit card balances, your loans, your financing agreements. Add it all up. Every dollar you owe, every payment you're committed to, every obligation you've taken on. See it clearly. Feel it fully. Let yourself experience the weight of it. Now ask yourself this. If you lost your job tomorrow, how long would you be okay? A month? A week? A few days? If your car broke down and needed a $1,000 repair, could you pay for it without adding to your debt? If you wanted to quit your job and try something new, could you afford to? If you got sick and needed to take unpaid time off, would you survive? If any of those answers are no, then you are not middle class. You are not secure. You are not successful no matter what your income is or what you own or how you look. You are poor. Functionally, practically, actually poor. And the first step to changing that is admitting it. You can't fix a problem you won't acknowledge. You can't escape a trap you pretend isn't there. You can't build wealth while insisting you're already successful. So admit it. Say it out loud if you have to. I am broke. I am living beyond my means. I am financially fragile. I have prioritized image over substance. I have been lying to myself. This isn't working. It doesn't feel good to say. It's not supposed to. Truth hurts. Reality stings. But it also liberates. Because once you admit where you are, you can start moving toward where you want to be. Not where you want people to think you are, where you actually want to be. And where you actually want to be is free, secure, stable, at peace, able to make choices based on what's good for you instead of what looks good to others, able to sleep at night without financial anxiety, able to handle emergencies without panic, able to build a future instead of just surviving the present. That's what's on the other side of this admission. That's what's waiting for you if you're brave enough to stop performing and start building. But you have to choose it. Nobody can choose it for you. Nobody can make you change. Nobody can save you from yourself. This is on you, your life, your choices, your future, your responsibility. And here's the hard truth. Most people won't do it. They'll watch this, they'll nod along, they'll recognize themselves, they'll feel the truth of it. And then they'll go right back to what they were doing. They'll keep financing, keep performing, keep pretending. Because changing is hard and scary and uncomfortable. Because admitting you were wrong is painful. Because letting go of the image means facing judgment. Because being different from everyone around you takes courage most people don't have. So they stay trapped. They live their whole lives in that trap. They retire with nothing. They depend on others. They never experience real financial freedom. And they tell themselves stories about why it wasn't their fault, why the system is rigged, why they never had a chance, why it's different for them. But it's not different. It's the same for everyone. The trap is the same. The choice is the same. The only difference is who's brave enough to choose differently. So who are you? Are you one of the people who stays trapped because it's easier, because it's familiar, because everyone else is doing it? Or are you someone who does the hard thing? Who makes the uncomfortable choice? Who prioritizes reality over image, even when it costs you socially? This is the moment. Right here, right now. This is where you decide. And your decision will echo through the rest of your life. Choose wrong, and you'll spend years or decades trapped, stressed, financially fragile, pretending everything is fine while slowly drowning. Choose right, and you'll spend some hard months or years rebuilding, simplifying, facing judgment, feeling uncomfortable, but progressively building real security and freedom. The first path is easy now and gets harder over time. The second path is hard now and gets easier over time. That's the trade-off. That's always the trade-off. Instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Image versus substance. Performance versus reality. Everyone wants the results of discipline without the discomfort of discipline. But that's not how it works. That's never how it works. You don't get the reward without doing the work. You don't get the freedom without making the sacrifice. You don't get the security without creating the gap between income and expenses. You don't get the peace without stopping the performance. There's no shortcut, no hack, no secret. Just a simple, brutally difficult choice to live differently than everyone around you. And that choice starts today, not with some grand dramatic gesture, not with selling everything and moving to the woods, just with one small decision. Keep the phone you have. Don't upgrade. Take that monthly payment you would have committed to and put it in savings. That's it. That's the start. One small choice to keep something that works instead of upgrading to something that looks better. Then next month, another choice. Don't eat out as much. Make coffee at home. Skip the delivery. Take those saved dollars and add them to the savings. Small choices, unsexy choices. Choices that nobody will notice or applaud or even know about. But choices that compound, that build, that create actual change. Because wealth isn't built through big dramatic moments. It's built through small, consistent decisions that prioritize your future over your image. It's built by saying no to things that don't matter, so you can say yes to things that do. It's built by being willing to look unsuccessful while building actual success. And nobody can do it for you. No amount of motivation will sustain you if you're not willing to choose discomfort. No amount of information will change you if you're not willing to act differently. This isn't about knowledge. You already know what to do. Everyone knows what to do. Spend less than you make. Save the difference. Avoid debt. Live simply. It's not complicated. It's just hard. Hard because it means going against your programming. Hard because it means facing social pressure. Hard because it means being different. Hard because it means admitting you were wrong. Hard because it means letting go of the identity you've built around your possessions. But you know what's harder? Staying where you are, living in constant financial stress, never building security, never feeling free, working your entire life just to maintain an image that doesn't even make you happy. That's harder. That's way harder. You're just used to it. You've normalized it. You think that's just how life is. But it's not. It's how life is for people who prioritize looking successful over being successful. It's how life is for people who buy the lie that happiness can be financed. It's how life is for people who let other people's opinions determine their choices. But it doesn't have to be how life is for you. You can choose differently. Starting right now, starting with this next decision you make. Will you upgrade that thing you want to upgrade? Or will you keep what you have and save the difference? Will you buy that thing you want to impress people? Or will you invest that money in your future instead? Will you maintain the image? Or will you build the substance? These daily choices seem small. They seem insignificant. But they're everything. They're the difference between freedom and bondage, between security and fragility, between actual success and the performance of success. And the beautiful thing is that once you start making these choices, once you start seeing the money accumulate, once you start feeling the stress decrease, it gets easier. The motivation becomes intrinsic. The reward becomes immediate, not in the purchase, but in the peace. Not in the image, but in the reality. Not in other people's approval, but in your own integrity. You start to realize that you don't need any of that stuff you thought you needed. You don't need the newest phone to be happy. You don't need the impressive car to feel successful. You don't need the expensive clothes to feel confident. Those were all external validations for internal insecurities, and the insecurities don't go away when you buy things. They just get temporarily masked. The real solution to insecurity isn't consumption. It's building something real, accomplishing something meaningful, creating actual security in your life. That's what gives you genuine confidence. That's what provides real satisfaction. Not the momentary dopamine hit of a new purchase, but the lasting peace of knowing you're building a solid foundation. And here's something nobody talks about. The people you're trying to impress, they're not impressed. They're either doing the same thing you're doing and too worried about their own image to care about yours, or they're secure enough to see through the performance. The only people impressed by your financed luxury are people whose opinions don't matter. People who are trapped in the same cycle. People who are judging their success by the same broken metrics. Real successful people, people with actual wealth and security, they're not driving the flashiest car or wearing the most expensive clothes. They're driving something reliable and investing the difference. They're living below their means on purpose. They're building wealth instead of signaling status. And they can spot a performance from a mile away. So you're not even achieving what you think you're achieving. You're impressing the wrong people while failing to impress the right people and bankrupting yourself in the process. It's lose, lose, lose. You lose financially. You lose authentically. You lose the respect of people worth respecting, all to maintain an image that doesn't even accomplish what you think it accomplishes. So let it go. Seriously, let it all go. The need to impress, the need to perform, the need to prove, the need to signal. Let it go and watch what happens. Watch how much money you suddenly have when you're not spending it all on other people's perceptions. Watch how much stress disappears when you're not maintaining a facade. Watch how much energy returns when you're not performing all the time. Watch how much clearer your thinking becomes when you're not constantly anxious about money. Watch how much better you sleep when you have savings instead of debt. Watch how much more you enjoy life when you're actually living it instead of performing it. This is what's waiting for you on the other side. Not poverty, not deprivation, not some sad existence without nice things, but actual life, real life. The life you've been too busy performing to live. The life that happens when you stop trying to look successful and start being successful. When you stop trying to impress people and start respecting yourself. When you stop trying to keep up with others and start building your own foundation. That life is available to you. Right now. Today. But you have to choose it. You have to choose it over the performance. Over the image. Over the approval. Over the comfort of doing what everyone else is doing. And I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be uncomfortable at first. People will notice, they'll ask questions, they'll wonder what happened, whether you're okay, whether you got demoted, whether you're having problems, and you'll have to decide how to handle that. Whether to explain or deflect, whether to tell the truth about reprioritizing your life or make up excuses about saving for something. But eventually, they'll stop asking. They'll stop caring. Because people are mostly worried about themselves. They notice your changes for a moment, and then they move on. And you'll be left with the results of your choices. If you kept performing, you'll be left with the same stress, the same debt, the same trap. If you chose differently, you'll be left with growing savings, decreasing anxiety, and increasing freedom. The attention fades, the judgment passes, but the results of your choices persist. That's what matters. Not what people think for a few weeks, but what your life looks like in a few years. And in a few years, you'll either be wishing you had started today, or you'll be grateful that you did. There's no third option. You either change or you don't. You either build real security, or you keep performing fake success. You either prioritize your future, or you sacrifice it for your image. The choice is yours. It's always been yours. Nobody else can make it for you. So here we are, at the end of this conversation. And you have a decision to make. Are you going to close this video and go right back to what you were doing? Back to the financing, the performing, the pretending, back to the trap that's eating your life and your future? Or are you going to do something different? Are you going to actually look at your finances, actually make some hard choices, actually start building security instead of maintaining an image? Because I can give you all the information in the world, I can break down the psychology, I can show you the trap, I can explain the alternatives, but I can't make you change. Only you can do that. Only you can decide that your future matters more than your image. Only you can decide that peace matters more than performance. Only you can decide that enough is enough and something has to change, and that something is you. Not your income, not your circumstances, not the system. You, your choices, your priorities, your willingness to live differently than the people around you. That's what determines everything. And if you're ready to make that change, if you're ready to stop being a middle-class poor person who earns well but has nothing, if you're ready to build actual wealth instead of the appearance of success, then start today, not tomorrow, today. Make one different choice right now. Keep something instead of upgrading it. Save something instead of spending it. Choose substance instead of image. Just once, just today. And then do it again tomorrow, and the next day. And watch what happens. Watch your life transform. Watch your stress decrease. Watch your options increase. Watch your future open up. It won't happen overnight. It'll take months, years, but it will happen if you stay consistent. If you keep choosing reality over performance. If you keep prioritizing your actual life over your projected image. And a few years from now, you'll look back at this moment, this video, this decision, and you'll either regret not starting when you had the chance, or you'll be grateful that you finally had the courage to stop performing and start building. So what's it going to be? Are you going to keep drowning in shallow water while pretending everything is fine? Or are you going to swim to safety even if nobody's watching? The choice is yours. Make it count. And if this video resonated with you, if it challenged you, if it made you think or made you uncomfortable or made you realize something about yourself, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and most importantly, leave a comment. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm right. Tell me your story. Tell me where you are and where you're trying to go. Even if you disagree with everything I said, comment anyway. Because that engagement helps this message reach more people who need to hear it. More people who are trapped. More people who are performing. More people who need permission to stop pretending and start building. So yeah. Let's talk. Let's have the conversation nobody else is having. The real conversation about money and status and image and security. I'll see you in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Now go make a different choice.